Hello, everyone. This is Reverend Bobby Becker, Senior Minister, Spiritual Leader of Namaste and Seal Beach Center for Spiritual Living. And Reverend
Reverend
John, go
John,
ahead.
interim minister for Namaste and Seal Beach. And I'm happy to be here. And we're going to talk about values today, continue our conversation on values. And what is our topic today?
Extraordinary respect. And 2 weeks ago, John and I have been kind of doing, our little summer activities. I went on vacation for 2 weeks. It was absolutely glorious and got a chance to give myself some extraordinary respect. And John, you went to a Silmar during this
I
week.
did, to the Centers for Spiritual Living annual retreat in Monterey, at the tip of the Monterey Peninsula. Beautiful spot. Highly recommend going there. Got to see a lot of make a lot of new friends and old connections.
Wonderful. So John and I are going to talk about a value. We talked about safety in our first two videos, and now we're going to take a couple of opportunities to talk about extraordinary respect. So first, we're going to just define sort of individually what extraordinary respect may be from a standpoint of myself as an individual, how it is in my more intimate unit, the family that I'm traveling with, and then what it looks like in community. So I'm going to start with individually. So when I'm in the world as an individual, and oftentimes it's really important for me to first give myself the extraordinary respect, which is giving myself some care, compassion, empathy, so that I can be in the world and give the same. And I can't be in the world and give the same unless I give it myself. In my own family, it can be a little bit more challenging, as John and I were talking about earlier, which is it's easier to be ourselves. It's easier to react with spouse and or family because we're around them a lot. So they tend to be that trigger, or that we think that trigger in our lives. And we react and respond with a little more freedom and don't always bring that extraordinary respect, myself included in that. And then as far as community goes, one of the things that it's really important to do is when I show up in community is to remember that we're all on a journey, and that reactions coming from others have nothing to do with me. Go back to the four agreements. And that it's important for me to be present in those experiences so that I can be and do the role that I came here to be. So how about you, John?
Well, I agree with everything that you said, Bobby, and to recognize that I cannot see the other as a person if I don't see myself that way. Mm-hmm. And we're admonished to, love the Lord your God with your whole heart and soul, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. And the entirety of the law rests on those two things. So what I think about that means the law, meaning the creative process that we espouse, we can't use it if we don't start from that place of self-compassion and loving ourselves before we can even love the other person. And so that's the baseline for me of where respect can even begin. And to make it extraordinary, that's where, you really can start with your family, because that's a tough one. To just have respect, never mind making it extraordinary.
Right. And it's really interesting to be able to walk in the world doing this kind of work. And part of what we practice in the philosophy of science of mind is understanding that everything starts with me. It's not that it's all about me, but everything starts with me. And somehow that got lost along the way, in a sense of somehow I can change the world by how I am. I can change my part of the world by how I am. And you're right, John, the law that works responds exactly to what my belief is. And so if I'm believing that an interaction, whether it's in my world, individual world, family world, community world, is contingent, my behavior is contingent on how others treat me, then I'm probably reacting all over the place out there. And I am creating the very thing that I don't want to create, which is a lot of reaction in others or continued reaction in others. And the law works exactly as what we put out there.
Yeah, exactly. And so we seek to control our situations. And once we're in that mode of control, which means we have an expectation about how things should be, how the conversation should go, well, we've lost our connection to respect.
Right. And, you know, as we've been moving, I'm going to move into this evolving community that we've decided to come together and to create something new. It means that we have to, well, it doesn't mean we have to, but there's an invitation to let go of what was, not just because we were struggling as two communities, but sometimes in that struggle, the invitation is, okay, then what is a possible solution if I want to create something that is both sustainable and in that sustainability, something that I can thrive in, and a place where we can grow in, and not necessarily numbers, but grow in as far as individually and collectively. And in that evolving community, we've come here to create something. So this value of extraordinary respect, how does it play out in the evolving community? So I'm going to turn over to John real quick for that, and we'll see what opens up.
Well, if we can't be in a respectful conversation with the other, we can't find the common ground and recognize what the other person is really experiencing. And that's where the value is really to understand that there's really only one of us, that our experiences are so similar. And that's where we can start to understand the basis for respect.
Mm-hmm. So it's really easy. I notice in all our meetings, we're talking about, well, how did we practice extraordinary respect? And when I'm not triggered, or I'm not, you know, something doesn't touch on something that I'm not aware of, is something living within me. It's easy to practice it when I'm in peace. Of course, I can give extraordinary respect. I love you when I'm in peace. And then something happens in a meeting, or something happens in community, something happens on Sunday or a class or whatever it might be, and I'm frustrated. And I react, or someone else is frustrated and they react. That's the opportunity where I get to practice extraordinary respect in a situation where the truth of it is no one or nothing is against me. Can I be present in the situation first, having really good boundaries of love for myself? And what does that look like? And secondly, can I be curious in the situation of what might be happening for the other person? And if I can be curious, I can truly diffuse a situation quite quickly and get to the heart of the matter, rather than react and think, oh, well, you've done something to me and now I'm going to call you on it and do something back. I've just eliminated the possible practice of the value of extraordinary respect.
And so that's perfect, Bobbi, because it tells us that embedded in that are some competencies that we don't necessarily have to master, but we have to become aware to shift that from that anger to curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an opportunity for us to go deeper, not to meet requirements, but because we want to step into the greater sense of who we've come here to be.
Yeah, and there's always two sides of the street, which is I may actually not have done anything, but the opportunity lies in that pause and then that response versus reaction. How can I give extraordinary respect to the situation? Because if we're truly coming together to be in connection and healing and practice, you know, safety, extraordinary respect, compassion, and accountability, I can't do those things when one of those values is missing. And in order to be a community that's safe, I need to practice that extraordinary respect no matter what's happening. And sometimes taking responsibility, saying, you know, I could have done that better. Let me just take responsibility for that. That's extraordinary respect, is to allow that.
As we look at how can we do this, how does it evolve, we came up with an analogy here about the dashboard of your car. What does it tell you? It tells you whether you've got fuel in the tank, how fast you're going, whether your water temperature is too high. It gives you the indicators about temperature in your car, outside of your car, all of those things. And so if we're looking at these values, what would the dashboard look like that would tell us we're on the path, on the right path that we're traveling?
And I was thinking about what Jim Lockhart says with respect to, creating the beloved community. The dashboard is really important. If I'm showing up or if someone's showing up and they're low on fuel, tired, something emotionally draining is happening in my life, then I'm not going to be able to show up in a way that I can actually express all those things. But that doesn't mean that the rest of the community can't recognize that someone might be low on fuel, that they're running a little hot, that they're not able to operate at the same capacity they've been. And so can I be conscious of that? So an indicator might be, we don't always show up as the highest and best typically, but the highest and best in the moment. And can we, engage with one another that allows us to, as a collective dashboard, to recognize that it doesn't all have to be operating at an optimum level, as in every person, but collectively, can we bring that when others can't?
And can we see that and become aware and ask, you seem like you're low on gas.
Or you're running too high on your RPMs, which means you're doing too much. So step back, step off the gas a little bit. And then I'm thinking about, here we are going through this naming process, and there's probably some energy around what that name should be. Some may think it should stay the same, at least for one community and or the other. And how can we open this up to be an even more expansive version of ourselves, to let go that the past served us. We don't ignore it, we don't reject it, but we can't stay there in order to thrive. And so these values will help us walk through these different changes.
And that's the old saying is, that's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, because you need to listen twice as often.
Exactly. So we're going to be talking more about this in our next video. So you're seeing this today and you'll be hearing it in talks on Sundays. And just really grateful, John, that we get to do this together and be part of this new creation and what's possible here.
Thanks, Reverend Bobbi. I appreciate you and this wonderful opportunity that is emerging into a beautiful idea that has never existed before.
Awesome. Thank you so much and enjoy today's video.